Based solely upon canon materials, it would seem that Yoda's path on Dagobah was quite simple. After learning from the Force priestesses that there was another Skywalker, and thus a potential hope for the galaxy during its darkest times, Yoda would accept his exile on Dagobah and wait until Luke became old enough to be trained so that he might confront Vader and the Emperor. While Yoda would reach out to Ezra and assist the galaxy where he could, his true goal and destiny was to wait for Luke and train him as a Jedi to finally attempt to overthrow the Sith. But in reality, Yoda's exile and fate on Dagobah was not quite so simple at all. We've discussed it in a previous video, but Yoda's existence on Dagobah couldn't have been more torturous. The terrain and quality of life were hard enough, but the true difficulty lay in Yoda's isolation with a devastating truth. It was his fault the Jedi Order and all of his friends were destroyed, with the galaxy now at the mercy of Sidious and Vader. Because of his failure, the Sith were able to prey upon the hubris and blindness of the Jedi, enabling the revenge of the Sith. During his exile on Dagobah, Yoda was tortured with nightmares of anger, hate, and suffering. And worse, Yoda didn't know the dream's true meaning, forced to take on the emotions and suffer himself. Despite all of his knowledge of the fate of the galaxy provided by the Force priestesses, the potential that existed with Luke and Leia, and his faith in the light side, it was all almost too much for even Yoda to bear. After almost 2 decades in complete isolation, the Jedi Grandmaster almost gave up, abandoning any promise that might exist within Anakin's children. After a long day of hunting across Dagobah, Yoda's despair caused him to perceive the shift in the rocks beneath him too late, causing him to plummet to the ground below. As a representation of just how consumed Yoda was by his failure at this point, in attempting to prevent his fall, the Jedi's thoughts reminded him of the day he failed to stop Sidious, running from the duel in defeat. The fall would render Yoda unconscious, but after some time, he was awoken by his torturous dream again, only to find he was now buried alive. Demonstrating how defeated he was at this point, when the Jedi Master failed to generate enough power with the Force to free himself, Yoda almost accepted his fate, finding that it would be appropriate that Dagobah didn't merely turn into his place of exile but his prison, one that he wouldn't escape from. But at this point, Yoda tapped into what little hope and faith in the light that still remained, desperate for his journey to not end in that way. Tapping into the Force, Yoda let go of his dark thoughts regarding his failure, and with these no longer holding him back, the Jedi Master found the peace he needed to free himself from the rocks, ensuring that the last of the Jedi remained part of the universe for at least a little longer. Although Yoda succeeded in finding a much-needed newfound clarity, more important for the future of the Jedi was in what happened next. Later that same day, with Yoda carrying out the simple jobs that consumed his life for the previous 22 years, he heard the sound of a starfighter crashing towards the surface. Curious, Yoda decided to approach his new visitor, and immediately, he recognized the boy. It was the same boy from the dreams that plagued him for years. Every dream had previously been filled with anger, hate, and suffering, demonstrating the same qualities that would cause Yoda's thoughts to be clouded by hubris and blindness. For this reason, one might have thought that Yoda would turn away from his training of Luke, finding there to be too many similarities that led the Jedi astray in the first place. While a path and destiny might exist for Luke, there was no telling what such a future would bring. But in that moment, Yoda also knew he had to train Luke. For the first time in decades, when looking upon Luke for the first time, his thoughts weren't clouded by the darkness that tormented him. It was the first time he understood that in the boy, there was a new hope, someone who might be able to carry on the legacy of the Jedi once he was gone. Therefore, at that moment, Yoda committed himself to a path that hoped to ensure he wouldn't be the last Jedi, as he realized there was no other option but to train Luke upon Dagobah. So there we have it, the moment and reasons why Yoda chose to train Luke on Dagobah. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me... for legacies.